Oh, look at this! Cannondale's got a new gravel bike. Now, before I get into the breathtaking thing about this bike, these are the things you need to know, and there are just 5 of those important things. This Lab 71 frame is apparently only 900 grams, which is 100 grams lighter than before. There's more tyre clearance with space for 48mm at the back and 51mm up front. The geometry is the same as before, which is great because I hate talking about geometry. The only slight difference is a slightly dropped BB to fit the bigger rear tyre. It's also been aero tested at 35 km/h, which might sound reasonable to a keen roadie, but that's the speed that Lachlan Morton averaged at Unbound, so it is quite spicy. And finally, there is a new jazzy design down here for mud clearance. We have to talk about the price. I'll put the US and UK figures on the screen, but the top end build with a SRAM Red Access group set is $15,000. That is mad. An S-Works Crux is only 12K, so's a Trek Checkmate. The Colnago C68 Gravel is cheaper, and so is a custom NV Mog. It seems that a Lab 71 frame set is actually where all of that money is being eaten up. The Supercross 2 with a 2xGRX Di2 group set is $6,800. And that's a bit more like it. That actually undercuts Cervelo's Aspero 5 to the tune of $700. I just don't get where Cannondale is getting that 15K from. Sure, they can charge what they want for it, and I guess it doesn't really matter too much at this price point. But what do you get for more than double the price of the Supercross 2? Well, there's a claimed 1.2 kilo weight saving, which isn't to be sniffed at. And you get SRAM Red over GRX, but is that really worth $8,200? No. We're seeing other brands like Cube bringing their prices down because guess what? The majority of us just want sensibly priced bikes. So will Cannondale be putting people off with this crazy price on the top end bike? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. All right, away from the price, and the 2 standout bits for me are the increased tyre clearance and the aero claims. I'll come to the tyre clearance in a moment, but for now, I want to ask you to consider, does aero really matter on gravel bikes? Or should I say, do savings this small actually matter to you and me, the people that might actually go and buy the bike? Cannondale has saved just 1.6 watts from the old bike. And yes, they've done that while increasing the tyre clearance, which is cool. But if you're coming from the old bike to this new one, that's not the sort of aero saving that you're going to be feeling. Sure, if you're racing those huge 200-mile events, it will give you a time saving. But if you're not at the front of the race, like I'm not, I just don't think savings this small are worth worrying about. I think for me, if I was doing those events, I'd be better off investing the time in training to ride the distance without stopping for maybe like 10, 20, 30 minutes at the feed station. And if you're pushing yourself to be competitive in those big races, then there are probably better aero savings to be chased for way less money. Our wind tunnel testing showed that. So, does aero matter on gravel bikes? Well, yes, it does, but I'm not about to go singing the praises of a 1.6 watt saving. For most of us, it just won't make a tangible difference. You might have noticed that tyres winning gravel races, especially in the US, are getting stupidly wide. Now, when we spoke to him, Nathan Haas reckoned that a 40mm was the fastest from the testing that he and Chad Hager had done. But Dylan Johnson disagrees. In a recent video, which is well worth a watch if you haven't already, he found mountain bike tyres were, to quote the man himself, fast AF. And we've had messages from other pro riders saying that mountain bike tyres are undeniably faster for their races. And Cannondale seems to be reacting to this trend, though not fully. The clearance we have here is 51mm up front and 48mm in the back, with at least 4mm of tyre clearance on each side of the tyre. That's 2 and 1.8 inches on a 700C wheel, by the way. And if you take a look at the setup Lachlan Morton used to win Unbound, it's clear to see why Cannondale has done this. Up front, he ran a 50mm Terreno Dry, which didn't leave much room for mud in the fork. Out back was a 44mm Mezcal. The old bike was only meant to take 45mm tyres, so it's good to see Cannondale actively responding to what its top riders want. But would you try mountain bike tyres on your gravel bike? Let me know in the comments. On to weight, and we're dealing with claimed weights here, so a little pinch of salt with these figures. But the Lab 71 is 7.4 kilos for a 56cm size. An S-Works Crux is about 7.2, while the Checkmate is heavier at 7.5. So the Supercross is pretty good considering the aero tube shapes and tyre clearance. But if you can't find the 15K for the Lab 71 bike, you'll be looking at a claimed 8.6 kilos for the Supercross 2. Again, if we compare to the Crux, this time the 7.5 grand Pro model, that's 7.6 kilos, while the Checkmate SLR 7 is 8.1 kilos. Right about now, I was hoping to bring you some first ride thoughts from a few muddy gravel tracks in the UK, but the bike didn't turn up, so I can't. We'll be reviewing the bike when we get hold of it, so you'll just need to subscribe so you don't miss the full review. I have to say my initial impressions of the bike are mixed. I love Cannondale's, having owned a beautiful SuperSix, and I think this one actually looks the business. While the teeny tiny aero saving isn't going to matter to the majority of us, I love seeing the space for some properly wide tyres. And I don't know if you agree, but I think overall the look is really, really nice. But that price is wild. Any of you got a spare 15 grand I can borrow? For now, if you want to see a better way to spend your money on aero savings, it's just up here.